Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be making a mixed media postcard, and here is a sneak peek. So these are the supplies to get started. To start, you will need 1 or 2 stencils. You will need Artist Acrylic Medium Gloss Gel or Mod Podge. Some masking tape. This is some homemade texture paste, which I will link to the recipe below. I use a junk mail credit card to spread the texture paste. You will need some acrylic paint and an old paintbrush, some glue or adhesive. I have a piece of packaging which I'm just using to mix my paint, so something to mix your paint in. You will need a scrapbook piece of paper, some old book pages, and I am using some die cuts, but you can use embellishments. You will also need some Holtz Distressing Ink. And I also use some Staz On ink, which is permanent black ink, with my stamps. These are the stamps that I use, which will be used in the background. And of course, your postcard that you will be covering. This is mine that I've just covered with white acrylic paint. And I've done this because it's actually a funny story. I had ordered some postcards from the website Vistaprint, and when my order came, it actually came with someone else's as well, and it was her bridal shower invites. And I reached out to her, and she ended up getting her order filled by Vistaprint, so it was a mix-up and I could just throw them away. But I did not want to waste them. And after I had started making my ATCs, I thought that, wow, I could just use the same technique and make a postcard. So I wanted to show you guys that, and I've been really into the mixed media lately, so I hope you enjoy it. So I moved everything out of the way and I zoomed in on the postcard so you guys can see it, see what I'm doing. And here I'm starting with the book pages and the glue. And I'm just gonna rip the pages of any size and just put a couple pieces on the card. But I'm not gonna cover the whole background. And like I said, this is a very similar tutorial to my mixed media ATCs, so you guys should go check out that video as well. Here I am, I'm just starting to glue the book pages down, and you can use any kind of adhesive for this. And here I take that scrapbook paper and I start to rip shapes that would fit over the white area between the book pages. And then I glue them down as well. If there's still some white space during this stage, that is okay, and some overlap is good. So now I move on to the masking tape, and I just start ripping some pieces to cover what's left of the white area. And you want to use masking tape because it has a little bit of a texture to it. You cannot use any glossy tape or plastic, will reject the paint. Here I want to show you what it looks like up close right now. And then I pull out the tray because I'm going to start mixing my paint. And this is just dollar paint from Walmart. And I wanted to use a turquoise, but I didn't want it that dark. So then I mixed in some white to lighten it up. I'm just brushing it through the white areas to make sure that most of the white area will be covered by the end of this stage, and I dab it on to not make it so streaky. It looks better to be dabbed like a sponge, and I kind of go around the edges because I like the way that it looks. And then I let it dry. And here I take that writing stamp and I ink it with my Staz On, and I cover the background with it. I'm trying to line it up. I wanted to line it up so it looks like it was all done with one stamp. And then I add a little butterfly in the corner. Now I'm moving on to my texture paste. Here I am starting with the diamond stencil, and I just scrape a little bit on. And I'm not trying to get a perfect stencil out of this because it looks more unique and vintage without it when it's not perfect. And then I also use the clock stencil because I think that looks neat with it. When you scrape your texture paste, if you do it lightly, it becomes thicker, and when you scrape it harder, it's very thin, and which would make it easier to dry. So after this stage, you want to make sure the texture paste is completely dried before moving on. And I think it already looks great so far. Now we're on to the distressing. And I'm just gonna brush the sides with it and try to get a little bit of ink on the card. I tap it on top of the texture paste so that way some of the ink gets on there as well and it's not so stark white. Now I'm distressing my die cuts that I will be using so that way they blend in with the postcard. I did a postage stamp, then 2 buttons, and this is like a silhouette frame, and then the sewing scissors. Then I place them on the postcard and glue them down. Here's another close-up. I take the postage mark stamp and stamp that on my stamp. And then I take a Micron pen and outline some of the die cuts to make them stand out. And this is a waterproof pen. Then I take my gold paint and I just use very little and brush it along the edges of the texture paste, and I dab it on where there might be some areas that need more color, and on top of the die cuts to make them blend in. And I don't use very much. Now I'm taking the Artist Acrylic Gloss Gel, and it's very thick, and what I do is I start in the upper corner and just start working my way down by covering the whole card. And what this does is it basically seals the postcard, so that way the texture paste doesn't crumble off and the die cuts don't lift up. You can also use Mod Podge for this. You could probably research it and use something else. I don't think this is 100% waterproof, but I think it does keep some out. I do want to warn you that you may have to pay extra postage depending on how thick or heavy your postcard is. And usually I ask the post office to not send it through the machine if they could. If you liked this video or learned something new today, please click that like button. If you have any requests or suggestions for the future, please leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next one.